goes around the neck. No more like a millstone. A plumbing stone, by God. Damn them all.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Bo.
And I'm Kate.
And this is The Heart of Horror, a bonus episode. You might be asking yourself, listeners, what the hell is this? And the idea behind Heart of Horror is that I wanted to do a conversation about a movie where romance or relationships are kind of at the heart of it. And most particularly, I want to do this with Kate because she is a woman of great intellect and experience and also hilarious stories.
Yeah, mainly that one. I don't even know where these, like, I just end up in situations where I'm just like, I guess this is happening then, you know. I just seem to gravitate towards like dumb shit and dumb people, and so I'm like quite dumb myself when it comes to this stuff, so it's kind of like a bit of a recipe for disaster. But really my love life and my sex life is just kind of one punchline after the other, honestly. So
yeah. And you know, I think probably if you listen to this show for no other reason, the fact that we are going to stumble into revealing things about ourselves that will eventually be used in terms of exhibits in court.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like sometimes when I've like listened back to shows and things where I've like revealed certain things about myself, I'm like, was that a good idea? That seemed funny at the time. Now I'm not so sure. But let's put myself in a situation where it's just like, this is what I'll be talking about. Maybe it's like I can control this, so it's fine. You know, like I'm owning it.
Right. And I think also there's a little benefit of time where the stories that we're talking about for the most part are going to be things that happened a while back. And, and you gain some perspective and hopefully a little wisdom. But also it's just like, oh, you know, it's a real can you believe that happened kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so for the first episode, we are going to be discussing a movie that both of us really like, which is After Midnight, the Jeremy Gardner, Christian Stella film.
Yep.
And in addition to that, we're going to sort of focus on the idea that love that kind of left. You know, I don't know if we haven't talked about this prior to the show, so this could all go disastrously. But I know for me, there was definitely that one person that rightfully at the time left, and it just gutted me. You know, one of the like the one that got away sort of thing.
Yeah. See, for me, it's the opposite. Not that I'm like this guy's like pining after me or anything like that anymore, but like for me, it was the relationship where I had got to my ends, with like my wit's end on it, and I did the leaving.
You went to Miami.
Yeah. I just, you know, thought I'm living in this little town, and you know what, the next natural step is to just jump ship and go stay in Miami.
Yeah, get some tamales.
Yeah, just some tamales, exactly. You know, drink some wine, go to... you know what, actually, that whole thing honestly sounds so fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm considering moving to Miami, in all honesty. Fuck it all. Fuck it, let's just go. Why not?
Yeah, that's just one little town, you know, 4 hours from our porch.
Yeah.
So, all right, but let's talk about the movie first before we get into the stuff that is going to probably end both of our relationships. If our significant others ever listen.
It's fine. I'll meet you in Miami.
Yeah, this whole podcast ends with both of us being booted out, rightly so, and banished to Miami, where you know, we can all get COVID.
Yeah.
So, but all right. So After Midnight is the second film from one Jeremy Gardner, and I think you and I both love The Battery as well.
Oh my god, yeah. If you hear me on the summer series for Podcast Under the Stairs, you'll hear my love all over that film. Like, I'm still sore about it.
Yeah. I was like, what in the hell is happening here where The Battery is not going through? But all right, fine.
Yeah, I know. But no, I really love The Battery. I think it's just such a good example of, you know, this is how you make a really relatable and just well put together film for like hardly any money at all, you know. And I just think that the way the writing in it is just fantastic. And I think that the writing, this film is like a continuation almost in the respect that like it's, yes, you have all the horror and stuff around it, but really you're there for the characters, you're there for the writing. And that's what makes this film, like, you know, we've got, like, using The Battery as an example, we've got so many zombie movies and things, but that to me stands out because the characters are so like written so well. And the same with this one, like we have to care about what's going on with Hank and Abby for everything else to work. So yeah, I love both these films.
And I think you're right. I think this is kind of a continuation where instead of it being about two friends and the relationship between them, Gardner this time around is looking at romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And in particular, it's him and Brea Grant are the two actors in this movie. And you get some early glimpses of, well, all right, let's take one step back. The movie starts off with him being assaulted at night as he sits on a couch with his shotgun in his lap. And what we learn very quickly is that his girlfriend has left. His girlfriend of almost 10 years, which is a problem.
Yeah, that sentence in itself just screams red flag.
Yeah, for sure. And I was definitely on the more of the Brea Grant end. I'd been dating somebody for about, it was probably 18 months. So not 10 years, don't get me wrong. But definitely had that moment of like, so what are we doing here? You know, like, is this going to lead to marriage? And at the time, I had no interest in getting married. And so much like Abby, I was like, I'm going to fuck off to Miami. And I think this is done. But it's if you are in the same relationship for 10 years and there is not either a ring or a conversation about how we're just going to live that Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn life.
Yeah. So I know someone who was together they were together for 10 years before he proposed. And it was this kind of, I don't want to say a joke, but it was this kind of like elephant in the room about like, oh, hey guys, so you know, what was happening here? And, you know, they lived together, they owned a house together and stuff. And the thing is that I think like, you don't have to get married and have to have kids. You don't have to have those things to be happy. You can have a relationship that just kind of, you know, that goes along and you enjoy each other's company. And that's great. I think though, when one of you wants it and the other one maybe isn't quite there or isn't really showing many signs of being on that level with you, that's when it's an issue. And, you know, one of them in this partnership that I knew, like, she really like wanted it and he was a bit of a lad and whatever, you know, and he just never really kind of seemed to be that excited. It would always be this kind of thing of like, yeah, you know, we will. Yeah, it's fine. And then eventually he did propose and we just had a massive party for it because we were just like, well, fuck yeah, like fucking finally. And in fairness to his credit, they got married like a very short time later. It wasn't like, okay, well, I'm going to propose to you and then let's have like a 5-year engagement on top. It was like, no, I want to marry you. Let's get this shit done. Now they got kids and shit and like whatever. But yeah, like it did take a good long while. And it was kind of at a point where it was like, so like even we were kind of going, so what's happening with this, because let alone them. But it yeah, so I mean it does happen, but like yeah, for me I've never really had that so much. For me, I mean I've had it on a very short term thing. Like when I was really young, I was seeing this guy and it had been like 4 months of like continual dates and being exclusive and he still wasn't calling me his girlfriend.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I was 19, so, and he was 21. So it's not like, you know, I was envisioning marrying this guy, but I was like, kind of nice to, you know, be acknowledged as your girlfriend kind of thing. He just didn't want it. And then we broke up as a result kind of thing. So like, all right, it's not 10 years and it's not like marriage and whatever, but like, it was this kind of same thing of like, this is great and this is fun, but like, is this going somewhere or what's happening with this? But yeah, 4 months and not even being called the girlfriend. And what's so weird as well is that he literally told me that if him and his cousin weren't cousins, they would hook up.
What?
Yeah. They were both really attractive, and that's but yeah, and she was like, oh yeah, no, totally, I'd bang James.
Oh my goodness, that's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, we were at this club and a few drinks had been had, but yeah, and I was just kind of like, I don't know what to do with that information. Like, are you asking me for a three-way or what are we doing here?
That's how you get a basket case.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very much kind of like, okay. And then I think it was naturally that long after that I had the conversation. And honestly, I think part of me was kind of like, we need this conversation apart from anything else, just so that, you know, if this isn't going anywhere, I can get out now.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in their defense, they were both very attractive people, but I mean, still blood related. So
Yeah. No matter how attractive you are,
No.
you have to consider the fact, like, we could produce a hellspawn.
Yeah, right. It's like in Mean Girls when Karen's just like, but he's my first cousin. You know?
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I just couldn't believe how freely they came out with it. They were just like, yeah, you know, if we weren't cousins, we probably would have banged by now. Oh, okay.
Do you think they eventually did?
Oh, you know what? I really kind of hope that they did, just for the sheer fuckery of it all. Maybe, you never know. Maybe one day when they got drunk at like a family get together and stuff, or like they maybe had to like head to toe it and then didn't, you know?
Sure. Well, that's a head to toe sleeping is just the prelude to a 69.
Oh, 100%. Like, oh my gosh, how did this end up here? Oh.
How did this end up in my mouth?
Right. Well, I mean, I guess while it's there, you know?
Right. Don't take it personally. I'm just always erect around cousins.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, obviously. I mean, you know, no, I can't even say that I've although in fairness, all my cousins are, well, maybe, no, I'm joking. No, none of them.
You've heard it here first. All of Kate's cousins unattractive.
No, I feel like there's just aren't you like born? Shouldn't you be, you should just be born with like you know how you have beer goggles, but like the opposite for your family. Like as soon as you like Terminator style, you land eyes on your family member and it's just like, do not fuck comes across like.
Yeah, because I had an older cousin who, I mean, she was probably 7-8 years older than I was.
Yeah.
And was very pretty also, and I could acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But also was like, oh, under no circumstance, like I don't fantasize about her sexually because she's my cousin.
Exactly.
And to do so would cross a line for myself internally. The geography of my own soul would be forever marred by that.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from, you know, the fact that it goes against the laws of nature, you know, like your own internal laws are also at breach there. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah. And we weren't royalty. You know, that was the other thing. We weren't royals.
Yeah, I know. Well, if you do dare to go outside of that genial pool, you'll just get executed. Like, you know, they'll just get fobbed off.
We weren't trying to combine farms or anything, so it wasn't. Anyway, all right. So happy we talked about that.
I feel like 5 minutes in, we've already covered insects.
Well,
check.
Yeah.
You know,
listeners at home with the Heart of Horror bingo card, incest is the free space.
Yeah, exactly. Nice.
So the other thing I really like about the front end of this movie is I think it does a nice job of depicting that, hey, we're falling in love kind of moment. You know,
yeah.
The whole scene where he takes her to his family home and he breaks out the Pinot Noir.
Oh, I love it. But also part of me does cringe because I really do love wine, and I can just almost taste that. You know? It's
the Bert Erlinger's fruit wine or whatever from Schitt's Creek.
Yeah. It's just all of those like weird amalgamations of flavors put together, and it's like, maybe it's okay. Like,
I associate the flavor of peanuts in non-peanut food as, oh, this has turned.
I'm not really a fan of peanuts in food. I like satay sauce, but you know, you get that satay sauce which still has like peanuts in it, like it's not been ground up, like in their whole. Can't be dealing with that. I can't deal with nuts on salad either.
Yeah,
like I can't.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll go maybe a little fennel seed on a salad, maybe.
I can't do fennel because it tastes like aniseed, and I'm allergic.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Now I know if I ever have to poison you for a fortune.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd die from it, but you just might get some projectile vomit in your face. So
Now we're getting to kinks.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, yeah, that's a fun time, depending on how you look at it, you know.
Right,
So.
maybe those two cousins, that's how it started.
Yeah, maybe.
Getting drunk at a party, one of them throws up Monty Python style, the other one's like,
Right.
finally,
Yeah.
my dream has come true.
Yeah, it's like, oh, if this is the line we're crossing, well, then all bets are off, you know.
Right, one taboo is done.
And they just kind of like look at each other, you know, like the vomit's just kind of dripping off the face, and they're just like, oh yeah, you
Right,
know, like...
that look that's like vaguely like quicksand with some corn in it.
Nothing says sexual tension more than that, honestly. Like nothing on this God's green earth says sexual tension like quicksand looking vomit.
Yeah. All right, so with the movie. But yeah, I think the scenes with the Pinot Noir and her finding the tape that was a mixtape
for Julie.
Yeah. And, you know, kind of giving him shit about, oh no, this is experiential.
And sure, yeah, I love their banter. Their banter is so natural, and it's just when they banter, you kind of feel included. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. It's almost like a fingerprint where those early stages of a relationship, when you're sort of forming your own little inside jokes and that sort of thing, is incredibly intimate. And in much the same way that, I mean, you know, sex is obviously important to any relationship, but that level of emotional intimacy is the thing that carries you.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're not, you might be horny forever, but like there will be points where you're not horny and you need to fall back on like that good shit too. So yeah, it's really important. But this is what I mean. Like, it's very intimate. It's very, there's such a warmth to these scenes and these characters. I mean, apart from the lovely sunny cinematography, but like you can feel that connection with these characters, and it's very intimate. But at the same time, like when I'm watching, I don't feel like I'm intruding. I don't know, like I feel like, oh, this is so nice and cozy, you know? And then when we have these like real quick cuts to like these really kind of harsh and sort of desolate scenes with just Hank, and he's, you know, being attacked by the monster and stuff and everything, this kind of like bluish tint, and everything's very cold and stark by comparison, and it's not warm, it's scary, and it's not cozy, it's very like harsh. It's just, it really, if nothing else, it really like just emphasizes how it's gotten from A to B kind of thing. Like, it's just such a contrast, which I think is just done really, really well.
And I think the monster, aside from being the literal monster of the movie, I think from a sort of symbolic point of view, I think it serves kind of double duty.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Yeah. What's your kind of take on it then?
All right, so I think that...
All right, saddle up. Here we go.
All right, people, we're getting subtextual now.
Get your drinks.
It's subtextual healing. And I think that on the one hand, it's the idea of, you know, at night the demons come sort of thing. That especially if you're in the wake of a breakup, there is something about being alone with your thoughts at night that's kind of dangerous.
Oh my God, yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, how did that fuck up? What did I do? And you're so, like, your self-esteem just leaves as soon as the sun goes down, and you start thinking about what a piece of shit you are.
Yeah.
And how you let this happen and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you start like analyzing, like over-analyzing every damn little kind of fight that you had, or like any kind of moment where you were maybe less than awesome, and then you just eat away at yourself.
Yeah. So I think on the one hand, it is that. And I think the other subtext of that monster is it's also sort of representative of Hank's sort of his irresponsibility or his indecision.
Yeah.
But that's more about the end of the movie, I think. But what was your take on it?
Yeah, so I agree with the kind of your demons come at night, and I think like I didn't necessarily think of it like as at night, but now I do, because that's great. But I was definitely like, it's his demons, and it's the kind of thing that it's, for me, it was more like the voices of anxiety that you have in your head, like the demons that you have sort of like on your shoulder, and just trying to kind of keep them at bay, like never really letting them truly in, but they are always there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and you're constantly trying to like battle them back. And as well, just with, you know, when you like with anxiety, like especially, so many people like will suffer from that. And you know, if you say to someone like, oh god, I'm feeling this type of way, and then like your friends will come like, oh, don't be silly, like, you know, that's crazy talk, you're like awesome and blah blah blah, blah. But it doesn't stop those voices. And you know, so with like his friends and, you know, his should have been family by now, you know, sort of not really believing him and kind of going, oh, you know, don't be silly, it's just this, it just kind of really very much reminded me of like anxiety, and how it seems so real to you, and it possibly is real, but no one else kind of really sees it in the way that you see it, or they kind of put it down to other things, you know. So that's kind of like how I did it. And obviously, like, you know, the anxiety that he's then feeling as a result of her going, because it probably knocked him sideways with her leaving like that, you know. I mean, apart from the abrupt way that she's left, but he probably was thinking that everything was great and everything was fine, and what the fuck, why's she suddenly gone, and what the hell's happened? And then then that's when you start having those thoughts of, well, fuck, what did I do? How did we get here? Like, and all of those kind of things that we were talking about, like overanalyzing stuff, kind of creeping in, because then you have to you're forced to then look at everything that's happened until now to try and piece those things together to get to a point where it makes sense that she's just up and left with no word and no contact like that, you know. So like for me, like it was basically just anxiety and the different ways that anxiety can kind of affect you.
Oh, that's very good. Also, yeah, you become a weird sort of relationship detective in those moments, but you're just the worst, because all you're looking for are, you know, I at least for me, it's always not what they did that could have led to, you know, the end of the relationship. It's me going through, how did I screw this up?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, going through those moments when you're like, oh, well, this was a time when maybe I wasn't exactly the perfect person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because my ex, he was like my first real long-term serious adult relationship. We were together for nearly 5 years. And we ended up, it was really like, there's something that Abby says in this when she comes back, and she sort of says like, I'm a 33-year-old unmarried childless bar manager living in the only place I ever really wanted to leave, and I think that maybe you're looking around seeing if there's something else you can chase, and I'm thinking about all those things I gave up just for a spot on your wall. Which not only, oh my god, is such fucking great writing,
Mm-hmm.
but like I can relate to that so hard. Like, okay, I wasn't 33, I'm 33 now, but like I was, you know, 25 coming up 26, but I had moved back to this small town where so I spent the first 11 years of my life growing up in Bristol, which is a relatively big city in England, for those who don't know. And then when I was 11, I moved to Cirencester, this really tiny little town in the country. And when I was 18, I moved back to Bristol, and I moved back to Cirencester to live with my parents, to save, and to go traveling. And instead, I met this guy, and I didn't leave. And I never wanted to go back home, like to that home. I never wanted to like live the country lifestyle, really. I just was there purely to save money and then fuck off and see the world. But I got caught up in this relationship, and then fast forward like nearly 5 years on, and I'm in a job I can't stand because, you know, I now have a house to pay for and stuff. Well, we didn't own it, but we were renting and all the rest of it, and we had bills and whatever. With a guy who we had kind of gone through the motions, and he was very much like a country boy, and I'm a city girl. You know, he never wanted to go anywhere. He never wanted to do anything. He was a police officer, so he would work stupid shifts and he was constantly tired. And we just ended up leading very different lives. I was into things that he wasn't into, and vice versa. And, you know, and I ended up sort of breaking up with him because and moving back to Bristol and getting a job that I really loved. But I really kind of like related to Abby's character, because I had kind of had that where I just woke up and I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? I didn't go traveling. I didn't see these places. I didn't meet whoever I could have met, you know, and I'm in this relationship because fucking why? Like, because I'm supposed to. And then when I broke up with him, he had always gotten really well with my parents. and they actually stayed in contact for quite a little while over email.
Ew.
And yeah, well, I mean, there's a whole thing which I'll probably mention at some point in this episode, because the Christmas after we broke up was the most awkward fucking thing, because I also got on really well with his family, and by the following Christmas he was dating somebody else, and he was at Christmas, but his family insisted that I go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. So anyways, he had like messaged my mum though, like, I don't know, a year later or whatever. And oh, by the way, right, he starts dating this girl, right? Okay, which is all fine, because actually, honestly, it gave me the green light to go fuck whoever I wanted, because I was feeling real guilty about that. Yeah, and then basically, like, I see on Facebook that they're going traveling and they're going here and they're doing this, after I'd basically just given him so much shit for never wanting to do anything or go anywhere or see anything. And then all of a sudden he's doing all this shit. And like, I'm just like, yeah, you know, reap the benefit of my fucking hard work that I love, you know?
Yeah. So do you think that was a reaction to you breaking up with him because of those things? So that was the lesson that he took
I
from
know
it?
it was. I
Okay.
know it was, because he emailed my mum to say basically Kate was right and I didn't do this and I shouldn't have done that, and it's something I've learned and I'm going to make effort and blah, 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 with someone else.
It's this movie, only when it came time to sing Stay, there was another person there.
Yeah, exactly. But it's fine, because by that point I was with my partner now, and it all worked out. But it was like, there was a part of me that was just kind of like, you know, came all that to yourself, did you? Like,
Well, look who learned a lesson.
yeah, I know, like a fucking 5 years too late. Cheers. You know, like I put all this fucking hard work in and I get fucking butt kiss. I didn't even get the fucking X-Files box set. Motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's the insult to injury right there.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
And he got the 24 box set. He got all the box sets, because I felt so fucking guilty about it, because he was all like packing up all his shit, and then I was just like, oh, that's really sad. And he was just like, do you want this? And I was just like, I don't care, just take it. And then, like, you know, a month later I'm like, the fuck were you doing? Like, you should... yeah, you want that. I did keep my Buffy though, so that's the main thing.
Oh, that's so ironic that you say that, because I was about to tell you, I was in a not the same relationship kind of situation, but I was in a breakup where the girl that I was with had all my Buffy seasons, and she was like, do you want to come over and get those? And I was just so sick of the whole situation. I was like, no, just keep them. And it was, yeah, like you said, like a month later, I was like, God damn it, I really want to watch that Hush episode.
No, I can't ever give up my Buffy, because not only is Buffy, but Buffy's like my breakup fucking thing. Like, Buffy's the only thing that I can watch that gets my mind completely off anything. Like, I watched it when my dog died. I watched it during my first heartbreak. I watched it through all my subsequent heartbreaks. I skipped the heartbreaky episodes though. Like, I'm not one of these that like needs that catharsis by listening to sad music all the time. Like, I don't do that. Like, I need stuff to like, I need things to remind me how badass shit is. You know, like I don't like to wallow. Like, I like to just kind of repress, I guess.
You're not putting on the Cure records or anything.
No, not at all. I'm like putting on, I don't know, fucking Spice Girls or whatever, and jumping around my room going like, yeah, girl power. I don't need no man. You know? All that kind of stuff. So
I like a good wallow. At the end of a relationship, I need a solid 48 hours of like, I'm gonna listen to very sad music. There's gonna be a lot of Tom Waits being played. Right. And
there's gonna be a lot of whiskey involved and bourbon.
Yeah, I don't drink very much, but yeah, I'll drink after a breakup. I'm not above it.
I will. I'll have like a really big night out. Several, probably, in fact.
Yeah.
Where I just dance. Although I remember going to this club, right? And it was because it was a small town, because I was still living in Cirencester. I didn't move back to Bristol for a good few months after this breakup, because, you know, I had to save. Bristol is not cheap. And so I'm at this club with my friends, and it's like, I had just found out that he told me, he like calls me up and he's like, well, did he? Yeah, he called me up and he was just like, oh yeah, so just so you know, like, I'm dating someone. And I'm like, okay, I broke up with you, remember? Like, this is fine. So I was like, cool, I'm going to go pool because I've been wanting to for ages and I've been feeling real bad about it because, you know, like, it's a small town, you know, and people talk and shit. So I kind of tried to be respectful of the fact that I just crushed his heart. Yeah, so I had gone out with my friends and we were in this small little club. Like, I don't know if you guys have this in America, but, you know, you have like small towns and then like the club, quote unquote, club scene is like essentially just like a shop floor and someone's thrown a DJ into it and like...
Yeah, we have like 4 bars all on the same street in the same downtown area. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like that where I am, and so there's this very tiny club, and it's I don't know, Friday or Saturday night, so everyone's there because it's really the choice. You have 2 clubs, and this one was a little bit newer, so it was all kind of like novelty, and everyone kind of tended to go there. So it was really crammed, and it was that thing. You know, when you're like everyone's really round on the dance floor, you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm just brushing up against you. Oh no, look, someone else has just pushed me right up against your chest. Oh no, like like that. And so I had it with this guy, and eventually it just got to a point like, well, I mean, I'm right up in your face, like, why don't we just make out? And
yeah, we're both here.
It really was. It was kind of like, well, like, I have no room to dance. Like, it was really rammed. Like, people were just it was like the London Underground. You're just pressed up against each other, and like I was kind of dancing, but anytime someone wants to go by, I had to move forward. Which, oh no, look at my boobs. Just I'm just up in your face. And like something out of those like really cheesy romance novels from like Mills and Boone and shit. Yeah, and so like I like went in for a move and he reciprocated. But this was like the first kiss I'd had from someone other than my ex in like nearly 5 years, and it was just so weird.
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of like, oh, I'm not used to this kind of motion, whatever this is. And I was really drunk, and I basically like, it lasted for, I don't know, a couple of seconds, and then I just like I pulled away and I was like crying, and I just screamed in his face like, I'm really sorry, I just broke up with my boyfriend, and like ran away.
I want to debrief that guy. Like, what? All I did was kiss her, and she was like, wrong.
Like, she wanted it, you know. She was all she was pressing herself up against me. What was I supposed to do? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really felt bad. I really hope that he heard what I said, because it was really loud. So it would have been even funnier if he hadn't heard what I said. He just got yelled at and then ran off. I just ran off.
Right.
Just
not the ending of the evening he was expecting.
You know, it wasn't no happy ending. Yeah, like, oh, poor bloke. He did nothing wrong except just be the first guy that I kissed in 5 years. Apart from my ex, obviously. But yeah, oh god, it was such a nightmare breakup. But yeah, like he definitely, my ex definitely like felt a type of way about the whole relationship. And they were like, and he did the whole, I would get messages saying like, I mean, I'd gone on holiday to see a friend in Spain for 3 weeks after we broke up, because I was like, fuck this noise, I'm gonna go get me some sun. And so I went and stayed with her, and like literally every night he would leave me messages crying, saying how like if I ever change my mind and how he misses me and all. I mean, honestly, it was really quite sad. And it was just, I had to just turn my phone off essentially, just because I'm like trying to come here to forget about shit. And then we'll get back to our old house and he's moved out, and he leaves me this like massive bouquet of flowers. And get this, right? Not only has he left me a love letter, right, but he's also left me, I shouldn't laugh, it's really not funny, it's really sad. He left me this USB stick with a slideshow of photos of us for the last 5 years, and all the songs over time that either meant something to us or we had deliberated as, oh, if we were going to get married, what would be our first dance? And it was literally like a 10-minute fucking slideshow of this shit. And I was just like,
it's bold, it's a big play, but
it did not pay off. It just, if anything,
sure.
it just made me like, oh, like, no.
Yeah, and so I think that's a maturity thing also, is understanding from the opposite point of view. Because I had that girlfriend that was probably my first like really serious girlfriend, and we dated for a couple of years. And I was, in love with her. Would have done anything. But I was also a mess. for a number of reasons, but I was not a great partner. And I can acknowledge that now. At the time, I was like, "What are you doing? Why would you leave me? Why would you want to be, just walking on emotional landmines all the time?"
Right.
Well,
Sounds like fun to me. I
yeah,
mean,
right.
that's what I'm here for in a relationship. You got to keep it fresh.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. It was exciting.
right, spontaneous.
Yeah, you never knew what the day was going to bring. Is it going to be fun, Bo? Is it going to be sad, crying, Bo? It could be any.
Oh, Bo.
So yeah, like I said, it was a mess. Like my dad had just died, and blah blah blah.
Oh.
It was rough, and so, but I was wildly in love with her, and I ran into her. Like she rightly broke up with me at a certain point where she was like, "Look, you're a fucking mess, and you should probably talk to somebody." And she was right on all of those counts. But I ran into her because after that, I did the same thing where you just launch into a series of really drunken nights,
Right.
with friends. And I ran into her with another guy, like within
Ooh.
a couple of weeks.
Ouch. Yeah, I've been there too.
And and it was rough. And I did the move. This is so embarrassing, but this is the whole point of this. So I go up to him, and I'm not a fighter or anything. Like, I'm not going to pick a fight with anybody. But I did the thing where I was like, I introduced myself to him. I was like, yeah, I was the guy right before you. And she's sitting right beside him. And
Oh my
it
God.
just looks mortified. And rightly so again.
Yeah.
And so that happens, and then for whatever reason, like a couple of weeks later, I think we were finally doing the last exchange of here's some shit of yours, you've got some shit of mine kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a USB thumb drive, but I did the full just broke down, just begged, just whatever I got to do to keep you. And and now that I look back on it, I'm like, the fact that she stayed for more than say 180 seconds of that is such a credit to her as a person. But I feel terrible about it now. I mean, I
imagine she's probably moved on, but
yeah, this was years and years ago. She's fine now, but yeah, it was.
The thing is, sorry, yeah.
Well, what I was the ultimate point of that was not just the embarrassing story part of it. It was that even that was the emotional play, but after that day, I was like, I'm done. I can't bother her anymore. Like whatever emotional stuff that I need to work out, I got to do it myself, and I can't be the person that's making those 9 p.m. phone calls of like, I just want to hear your voice. None of that. I had to pull it back, and I think that's the right move.
Yes,
for
it
sure.
is. For someone who's been on the other end of that. Yeah, it is. Because you don't, I mean, I don't know. For me, like with my ex, I didn't stop caring about him. He wasn't a bad guy. He didn't abuse me or anything. Do you know what I mean? It was just, we were so different and we were in this rut and we wanted different things. And I just couldn't do it to myself anymore. And but I still cared for him. I just wasn't in love with him anymore. So, it still hurt to hear him so in such pain and to know that I'm the cause of that in a way. I mean, okay, he kind of did it to himself, honestly, but
right.
I had kind of, taken that step to, to bring about these actions. And, and this is why I was so relieved when he got with somebody else, because, it was kind of like, oh, thank fuck he's moved on. Because I don't have to hold on to this guilt anymore, putting this perfectly reasonable guy through the shitter kind of thing. And, when oh God, one of the things that I don't think I'll ever really forgive him for doing this, because it was such bullshit, emotional blackmail bollocks, where he said to me, I can't remember whether it was on a message or it's in this letter or what, but he basically said, if you ever change your mind, I'll always love you, even if I'm in a relationship, even if it's 10 years from now and you ever want to get back together, just let me know, because you don't know, what goes on behind closed doors kind of thing. As though he would hook up with someone, but if I came and knock in, he'd just drop it all. I was just like, what a bullshit bastard move, because I had been feeling so guilty about it. And then now it's kind of like that thing of like, oh shit, is he like, even if he's with someone, am I gonna know whether he's over me or not? Like, I'm just gonna be like, I don't know, I want to sort of like reiterate, I'm not all that in a relationship. Like, I'm not like this like pedestal to be like put on this pedestal or anything. Like, it's not like, oh, like I'm the best thing ever. But like, you know, he obviously felt that way for God knows why. Yeah, but like, it was just that whole thing of like, I really just want to kind of forget about you, you know?
Yeah.
And like, and just having that thing of in my mind of not, of like, I wanted to let go of the guilt. I felt so guilty for so long. Like, we're talking like years, like 1 or 2 years afterwards, I really kind of like learned to let go of that guilt. Because even when he was with his now wife, like I was still kind of like, especially with that Christmas, like, oh, that Christmas was so bad. Like, as I say, like his parents and his sisters and his brother, because I got on well with all of them, were like, no, you've got to come. Because my family had moved abroad by that point. It was my first Christmas without being with like my ex and also my family. And I was just going to have a friend over and we were going to like, you know, like eat shit and watch Christmas movies and drink and have a really great time. But that apparently was, no, you can't possibly, you must be with family and your ex and his new girlfriend.
Ugh, that's rough.
Yeah. Do you want to hear what's real rough?
Please.
So his brother, when thanking her for his present, called her Kate.
No.
Yeah. I had to tell him because he didn't even realize. I was like, dude, you just called her Kate. And he was like, oh, no, wait, no, shit, sorry, no, it's, and then like, it's Amy. No, and what's really stupid is his own girlfriend's called Amy. At the time was called Amy. So how do you forget that name? And it's just like, oh no, Amy, like, you know, like I meant Amy because you're Amy. And he made it just so much worse. He just really went to town on it. And also as well, the fact that my ex kept following me whenever I went to like the kitchen to make a cup of tea or something, like he would follow me. I'd parked in the driveway, yet he felt the need to walk me out to my car at the end of the night, which by the way, like I say the end of the night, it was basically as soon as dinner was done. And as soon as there was a polite amount of time for me to like, before I could leave. And then as soon as that time came around, oh, my friend's just called me, she's on her way over, okay, bye. Like, you know, it was just so fucking awkward. And like, oh yeah, just shit like that all fucking day. I was just like, oh my God, just kill me. Just kill me. And I felt bad for her. Do you know what I mean? Like, because that's not nice for her.
Of course, yeah. Like she's the innocent in this situation. Not that you did anything wrong, but she's the one that's like, I don't have anything to do with the dynamics at work here.
No, and there's nothing that she can kind of like say or do. And you know what as well? My friend works with like one of her friends, and apparently, I don't know how this came up, literally like nearly a decade later. But apparently she hated me for the longest time because all his family would do is talk about how awesome I was.
Yeah, so, that's rough.
And again, this isn't me like being like, oh, I'm so awesome or anything, but like we just got on really well. And we would, you know, it was like I was the girlfriend that kind of got him to settle down. So I think there's always, when you know your parents and you have like, you know, a child who's kind of like nearly 30 and not really ever had like a long-term girlfriend and never moved out of home and never, you know what I mean? Like, and then there's a girl who comes along and kind of does all of that for him. Like, I think there's always going to be like, oh, we love you, you know?
Sure, and probably some expectation on their part of like, oh, this is the girl that's going to be our daughter-in-law, like, you know, she's going to give us grandkids and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and,
sorry.
Yeah. Well, you know, so for Amy's point of view, what she should have done is stood up at the dinner table and said, enough of this bullshit. The next person that calls me Kate is going to get a punch in the face. Yeah. This lady needs to get the fuck out of here, pointing at you.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, she needs to go.
And I'd be thanking her for that. Like,
right,
yeah, I need to go.
Yeah. So, yeah, oh my God, this movie.
She was so graceful about it. I even said to her, like, look, I know this is awkward as shit, but please know, like, I'm only here for, like, his family. We're not, you know, like, and she was so sweet. She was just like, no, it's fine. And I tried to like include her because I didn't obviously, and they got me gifts as well.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't get them gifts because I got his mum, like, I don't know, his mum some biscuits and some wine or some shit. But I didn't really bother with gifts apart from I gave everyone, like, do you have Lindt chocolate over in America?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's this like European chocolate. It's so fucking good. And every year they have like Lindt Father Christmases and Lindt bunnies and Lindt, reindeer and shit. And it's kind of like a staple in English Christmas times. Like you always kind of end up with like something Lindt in your stocking or whatever. So I got everyone like Lindt fucking, I don't know, reindeers or some shit. And I also got her one as kind of like an olive branch, like, and so I tried. It was still so fucking awkward. And there's this photo on my Facebook, I think it's still on there, where like my ex is playing with our dog, because we had a dog as well.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and my face is just, I'm in the background, just sat on one of the sofas, and like if you zoom in on my face, I just look so unimpressed. Like I'm just...
Oh, that is so awkward.
It was just, honest to God, as soon as I got out of there, I drove around the corner, stopped the car, and just like, like exhaled. And as soon as I got home, like that like bottle of wine was open. I didn't even wait for my friend. I was just like, nope, I deserve this. I'm not waiting 1 second longer.
Oh, I would have been drunk by the time I walked in the door of this.
If I wasn't driving, I'd have probably been drunk by the time I left that house, but I was driving. And he is a policeman, so, best behavior and all.
Oh, sure. Well, best behavior in that scenario, like that's a real, like, you should, not you, but they should have known better than to create that tinder box.
Yeah, their first Christmas. It was their first Christmas.
Yeah.
It's just why.
That's according to Wham. That's the year that you're supposed to give you your heart.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. It was just all kinds of awkward. It was so bad, but yeah. Anyway.
All right. So
anyway.
Movie. So, yeah. I love all of this. So, especially now that we know that this is just your story with a monster.
Yeah, a monster I've had to kind of like shoot and bury out in the woods,
Yeah, like the poor cat.
Yo, poor Darby.
Yeah. So, so Hank is being visited by this monster every night. He's trying to get some proof, especially after he runs into Abby's brother Shane, who is the local police officer.
Yeah,
played by Justin Benson.
I know, it's so cool. I love their collaborations on the shit. I don't know why, but it really just makes me happy.
Yeah. You'd like to think that Jeremy Gardner and like Benson and Moorhead are in the same orbit of one another. That feels right.
Yeah, definitely.
And so he basically says, "Hey, Hank, you're a real fucking mess right now, and we're trying our best to, like, you've got a business to run. People are starting to talk because you're not showing up to that. Also, you are chasing people away from your property with a shotgun. All of this is sort of erratic behavior that should probably stop."
Yeah, I love how he's just like, you were shooting at what's his face, and he's just like, I was checking my mail. It's like, you often check your mail with a 44 gauge? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Or like belligerent shit. Yeah. And what? Sometimes.
And really, his one anchor in all of this is his buddy Wade.
Yeah.
As played by the adorable Henry Zabrowski from last podcast on the left and much more. And Wade is just a good old boy, but he's incredibly loyal to Hank. Which is kind of the friend you need in that situation. Yeah. And I like their, at one point they kind of go out into the woods hunting for this creature together.
Yeah, it's really sweet. And this is the thing, you always just need that one friend that, like, okay, this is airing, so I should probably be careful how I phrase this, and I mean hypothetically, but like, will, help you bury the body.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, you can just call them up in the middle of the night and be like, I need some help, or I need this, or can you just humor me with this? And they go, yep, what do you need, buddy?
Yeah.
Like, everyone needs that friend.
Right. And if you don't have that friend, go get yourself one. you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Oh yeah, for sure.
even if you don't like them all that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it there is a comfort in knowing that, you know, because I think after a breakup or after relationships start to sour, that's where you have to kind of put your love and attention is in your friends. That like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you know, I'm about, if I'm not already going through a bad patch, I'm about to,
Yeah.
and you're gonna see some things that are ugly, but I need you for this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think as well, like with these sort of things, like, all right, in this situation within the film, I don't think he did see her sort of up and leaving for 4 weeks, but you know, I think like in real life, you do tend to see things coming. Like you might not want to acknowledge it, you might not want to kind of go there on your own accord, kind of thing. You kind of want to let it play out, but you do tend to see these sorts of things unfolding. And so like I've definitely been in situations where I've like messaged my friend and been like, hey, just want to double check that spare room's still cool, kind of thing, you know, like because shit may be going down soon or whatever, you know, like. And you know, there are just always kind of like scenarios like that, I think, where you kind of just want to hedge your bets with your friends. And you know, that phrase, it takes a village, it doesn't just apply to childcare, you know, that applies to kind of any life event. I feel like you can't do these things alone. You have to, you know, rally with your friends, and they have to rally behind you. And like, this is why it's so sad, I think, when you have some relationships which are really toxic and you end up kind of losing your friendship circle, or they kind of ostracize you from that friendship circle. And then if, you know, when that relationship ends, then you kind of feel like you don't have anyone, and then that's when it really kind of takes hold of, you know, that spiraling where you don't have that safety net of your friends. So I can only imagine what like Hank would be like if he didn't have Wade, and even like Shane and stuff to an extent, like, but especially Wade, to kind of like go through that with, and to be able to talk to him, and for Wade to be like, yeah, I got your back, like whatever happens, I'm here for you, I've got you, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Even though he drinks gorilla farts.
I mean, yeah, it's just
Which,
oh.
after working in a bar, like that happened. There were people that would drink those bar shots.
Really?
Yeah.
I've worked in
Yes.
a bar. I've worked in two bars, and that has I've never seen that. Maybe
Maybe
that's just a Southern American thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe we're the only ones stupid enough to actually do it.
Your words. I am saying nothing.
But yeah, I done one? I don't think I've done one. I've seen
You're a
it
classier
done.
fellow. So.
Well, let's not say things we can't take back. But
We'll see at the end of this episode whether I still feel that way.
right, classy, maybe not the best word, but to the point of, you know, in addition to having that friend, I also think that it's really valuable and sort of emotionally rich to kind of be that friend for people. If you can, if you've got it, the time and wherewithal. Like I've got a buddy of mine who is you know, got a couple of kids, and his wife just had some ankle surgery and is essentially going to be off her feet for a couple of months.
Ooh,
Right.
ooh, yeah, okay,
And especially with the holidays coming up and that sort of thing. And
yeah,
so, you know, there is, like, we had a really nice moment the other day where I said, like, hey, if you need a hand with anything, I understand the situation that you're in. So if I can help with something, let me know. And he kind of jokingly said, well, you know, Will needs to get to this, you know, this track meet on Sunday afternoon if you know, if you want to take him. And I said,
yeah,
look, I'm not above it. I'll, whatever is going to make your life a little bit better, then I'm happy to do it.
yeah,
And it was a really nice moment where he said, you know, I really I know you would, you know, and
yeah,
likewise.
yeah,
So yeah, it's, you know, that's the thing I think sometimes people forget, that to have the kind of friends that will do that for you, you have to be that kind of friend.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, it very much for me. It's like both ways. You know, like when I first had my kid, because we don't have family around. I sort of mentioned earlier, my family moved abroad, and my partner's family live up north. So we don't really have that kind of support unit that like a lot of other people have. And Michael, my partner, he you know, he after his sort of 2 week paternity, he had to go back to work, and I was just on my own with this brog just attached to me all day long, and I couldn't really move. And you know, and it was the summer, so well, it's like spring and then summer, like my friends were all going out to parties and festivals, and no one who I like really saw on the regular had kids. So none of them could really like truly empathize with like what I was going through, much less what I was going through without any real break. You know, I didn't have a mum that I could be like, oh, hey, can you just have the kid for a bit while I go nap? Or can you, you know, just watch her while I go to the shop, or just have a walk, or Jesus Christ, just finish this cup of coffee. You know, and they didn't really get that because they've always had like, they've always been able to do what they want when they want. And on top of that, like I had to kind of feel everything, and feel all the kind of stuff of like, oh, I want to go do that. Oh, I want to go out, you know, and all the stuff which like I couldn't really do, at least at that point. But at the same time, like I was saying to them, like, I'm not around. I'm not going to be around. I didn't have a car then, traveling across town, because I didn't even really live in the same area of town as them anymore. And like I was like traveling across town with a baby in a pushchair and like on the like, you know, public transport systems is a fucking nightmare. So I'm going to have to kind of like ask you to make more of an effort to come and see me or to pick up the phone, because I'm just like in this whirlwind of baby and like terror, you know? And like, but it was this whole thing of like where they'd turn around and be like, well, yeah, no shit, of course, because like you would for me, and you have done for me in other areas. And there have been times where I've really needed a friend, and, you know, and you've made that effort. You've come over with care packages, or you've, you know, just come over with a bottle of wine and been like, forget that guy or forget this situation. Let's fucking watch Mean Girls for the 10th time and crack open this bottle, and, you know, like shit like that. So it's like, it's sometimes isn't always 50-50, but it's push and shove equally at different times. And, you know, if I didn't have like the friends that I'd had like during that time, then I probably would have been like, well, I mean, I'd have been fine, because you have to, when you're a parent, you have to buckle up and you have to be fine. But like, it would have been so much harder without like those people to kind of like rally around me and to make that extra effort. And then of course, like now they are all starting to have kids, and they are all starting to like do that stuff. And obviously like I'm right there for them as well, because like, you know, she's 3 now and she's a nurse, she doesn't need me all the time, so I can like be free to, you know, do those things back in kind. And it's such a lovely, as you're saying, like it's such a lovely feeling to be like, you know, someone being like, oh, this is going on, I'm like, what do you need?
Yeah,
you know, like you just tell me, I'll be there. Fucking no questions asked, don't even fucking worry about it, like I got you. You know, it's really nice to be able to kind of do that back. And I think like you do kind of see that. It's like, you know, with the battery, going back to like, you know, Jeremy Gardner's previous film, is like you kind of, it's obviously a lot more extreme situation where like sorry, not the battery, oh no, not even Jeremy Gardner, I was thinking Resolution even, sorry.
Yeah, Benson Moorhead, it still
but
works.
It's the same kind of thing, but like it's that kind of thing of you know, where like you know, this friendship has been a really long lasting friendship, and you know, he's doing all he can to help his friend get through this withdrawal and to get over this drug addiction and everything, and he's having to tough love it, but like he will be there and do what he needs to help his friend as much as possible. And it's a very different situation here, but you very much feel that closeness and that the longevity to their friendship, where, you know, they've probably been through some shit together, and they've, you know, and they know each other, and it's not even a questions asked of like, okay, cool, you want to go monster hunting? I'm there.
Yeah.
You know,
whatever you
it's
need,
really
Bubba.
nice.
Yeah,
exactly. Whatever you need to go through, and we'll chat about shit, and we'll work through some shit, and that's cool. And I'll be what you need me to be. No questions asked. It's that no questions asked thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and
I think
right. And I think the thing that a lot of people forget is how emotionally rewarding and satisfying it can be to be the support and not need the support. Like I think it does something for you as a person to understand that you're the kind of person that can be relied upon.
Yeah, definitely. It's a real kind of like, I don't want to say satisfaction in terms of this, like, you know, the cat who got the cream satisfaction, but it's nice to know that you're not, like, you can't be that much of a fuck up if you can be there for someone in that way.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of must have your shit together, like a little bit at least on an emotional level, you know?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
your bank account might say like 0.02 and like, you know, your car might be on its last leg and, you know, whatever else. But if you can't, as a person, you're probably okay if you can give that support to someone else.
For sure. So let's get to sort of the meat of the film, where with the backdrop of him going out hunting for this monster, he tries to take pictures of it, you know, tries to set traps for it, and you know, never can quite get the thing on camera or get the thing in his clutches. You know, Shane has no time for any of this. It's just like, this isn't real. Like you might be having a breakdown, but that's more logical than some monster appearing every night.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's kind of not in your head, but you are like something is happening clearly. Look at your fucking door, but like, you know, it's not this big thing that you're making it out to be. And this is kind of like what I feel like with the stuff I was saying about anxiety and things before, like it's quite easy to placate what people are feeling off as like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, fucking calm down. You know, like it's kind of like that in terms of just like kind of underplaying what people are feeling or what people are believing in, kind of thing.
Yeah. And so sure enough, Abby comes home.
Yeah.
And I like the moment where he sees her for the first time, and she's come in and started cleaning up the kitchen some and is playing some music, and he just stops the music and looks at her and just kind of walks away.
Yeah.
And the conversation that they have really doesn't take place until the conversation they need to have doesn't really happen until that night, when they're both, you know, sitting on the porch with the doors open, waiting for the monster to come that he has told her has been coming. And there's this extended scene where it kind of starts, funnily enough, with him saying like, I thought you might be a shapeshifter. You aren't, are you?
Yeah. Yeah, because it does occur to you as an audience member, like, because, you know, you're watching this film thinking horror movie.
Yeah.
So, and they make all of these really great horror movie references as well throughout. You can clearly see that, like, you know, everyone involved has a love of the genre. And, you know, it's something that kind of occurs to you, like, I wonder, you know, it just happens to be that this monster started coming around when she leaves. And all of a sudden, you know, she's back and everything and whatever. But it's kind of like, I like how, because it's kind of an obvious, there's so many red herrings to that. It's kind of like, that would be the obvious. And if it was that, I would be so disappointed. And so, but I like how they really acknowledge that, like, yeah, we know that this is kind of what you're thinking, so we're going to acknowledge it too. And, you know, like, oh, so are you kind of a shapeshifter? I'm not entirely ruling out that it's not you, kind of thing. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice moment, that, and it's a nice ease in, I think, like a nice icebreaker. Because I feel like their relationship and their dynamic is very much kind of, I don't want to say like just jokes, but it's that he's like, you know, they do have this very light banter with each other and a very easy banter with each other. So I think it's kind of like this, hey, here's something that's familiar and that's like, that we know how to do. And it's like gearing up for the more serious conversation that has to be had. I think it's really nice and natural.
Yeah, completely. And that leads into him finally asking, you know, where were you? And she says like, hey, I went to this class reunion in Miami, like I told you I was going to. And he says, well, that's about 9 hours. What about the other 4 weeks you were gone?
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, it's the conversation we alluded to earlier, where she says, you know, I had tamales from a guy on a bicycle, and I went to museums, and I did all these things that I've always wanted to do. Like, it's the stuff that, you know, appeals to her sensibility. Like you were saying about yourself, you know, wanting to travel and experience things outside of this small town.
Yeah. And then he says like, well, you know, and I've come back here, and he's like, well, why did you stay? And it's like, because of you. Like, yeah, because you charmed me. And it was like, in that moment, I was just like, girl, I have been there. You know, like...
Preach.
Like, tell it, sister. You know, like, and it's just, yeah, because you do, when you get caught up in the relationship. And this is what I also really love about those flashbacks, is that everything's so bright, and that's like kind of almost hazy kind of look, everything's perfect. And he's, a lot of it's from his perspective, so this is obviously like his recollections. And I wonder if really those moments are as sweet and charming as they're shown here, because they're all from his mind's eye. And to him, this relationship was great, and it was this and it was that. And obviously to her, there are these other moments, and we do get a little bit of it, like, we know when they're having their friends around for dinner and they find out that, like, you know, Wade and his missus are having a baby, and they go like, oh, when you gonna have a baby? And like Hank's all like, you know, we'll get one when they're like 8 years old, and we have to worry about all of the other stuff. And she's kind of like laughing along, but you can see like the camera kind of like slowly pans in on her face, and you can see that she's kind of like a little bit perturbed by his response, and a bit like, sort of, I think that's when like those moments of her sort of slowly realizing that maybe she needs more than what he's going to offer start kind of coming in. But for the most part, like these flashbacks are very kind of idealistic, and you know, it's quite easy to sort of like see how you can look back on these things with this like rose tinted glasses, you know, the phrase or whatever. But like, and you know, that's very much how it is at the beginning of a relationship. Like, they can do no wrong, and they're amazing, and we're so in love, and it's perfect, and it's this and it's that. And you prioritize that over anything else, really. You know, I've got friends who will kind of prioritize that over their actual friends, who will prioritize it over their careers, who'll prioritize it over traveling, like I did, you know. And then it's kind of like, that's great if the relationship is everything that you want it to be and continues to be everything that you need. But if it's not, then after it becomes less shiny, and after things kind of get a little bit more, you know, routiny or whatever, like, you have to be willing to accept that what you gave up was worth it for what you have now. And this is what obviously I think, you know, Abby's going through, and she says to him, you know, well, you know, okay, well, let's look at it the other way around. Like, if I got you to move to, you know, the city, and we had this like kind of box apartment, and we had the noise of traffic outside, and, you know, there were no forests for you to go and like wander around in. You couldn't hunt. You know, would I be enough for you? I don't think I would be, because there's an understanding on her part that love is not everything that you need. You can't totally lose yourself in a relationship. You still have to have the things in life that make you you, and that other person isn't enough, just isn't solely enough. This is why you have to have the similar sights of what you both want from a future. And obviously we see that that's not necessarily, at least, you know, for the majority of their relationship, that's maybe not necessarily been in sync with each other. You know, and this is definitely what I had with my ex. Like, I realized like we just don't want the same things, and it's not worth, what we have is not worth me giving up what I want, you know?
Right. Yeah, you can't, like you said, you can't lose yourself in a relationship that doesn't give you other kinds of nourishment.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
100%.
And I think you're right too, that in this moment, you know, it's clearly Hank romanticizing the relationship, because all the pictures he looks at are, you know, these sun-dappled images of Abby and memories of them in a hammock and all of that stuff. And it really takes this moment for her to sit down with him on the porch to say, that's not ever, like, I've seen you looking at other women. And I wonder if maybe I'm just not what you want, really. And if that's the case, then what are we doing?
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think as well, just like this whole thing of like the chase and, you know, the hunt, so to speak, like, I think it's all so enticing, and there are plenty of people like that who do just want to have the chase. Like, there's someone who I used to work with, and she would be on Tinder, and as soon as it kind of came to like actually meeting up and actually doing something about it, she lost all interest. You know, she just wanted to have like, I mean, I did not agree with that, whatever, but like, you know, but it's that kind of thing. Like, I just want to know that they want me, and I just, you know, and there are some people that are like that. And what annoys me is when you have those people who are like that, but they don't have the balls to cut it off. They just kind of like plod along just because they don't have like the confidence to be able to sort of call it quits when it's not right for them, and they just kind of you end up in this sort of relationship for the sake of it. And I think like that unfortunately happens way more than it should.
Yeah, we are together because neither of us are rude enough to hurt the other one.
Yeah, exactly. Which I just think is just so shit. Like, it's so shit for both of you involved. Because you can't go through that and not pick up on that. If you're not the one who's like, oh, I wish I could break up with them, but I can't, then the other person's they're either thinking that as well, or they're definitely picking up on that. And it's just a shit time for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you've been with someone for a while, you can feel the tide of the relationship, and if it starts to roll out some and you start to lose some of the warmth that you get from the person that you're with, it is incredibly apparent.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just happens because, you know, hey, they've had a bad day or whatever. Like, those things happen. But if you get those, like, long freezes in a relationship where, like, for weeks at a time, you're just trying to figure out, you know, like, did I do something? Did I say something wrong? Or has something changed? And so I think that's kind of, you know, where Hank is in this relationship is, you know, momentum was what was kind of driving everything forward, just because they had been doing it so long. That was continuing to be the primary engine of the relationship. And when she left, you know, especially for an extended period of time, and now has come back to tell him, you know, I want something more, then it's really decision time at that point.
Yeah.
Like, you are forcing him to either, growing up is a little too easy there. It's more that, you know, what is your intention with this relationship? Is this forever? And if it is, then let's say that.
Yeah, because this is the thing. She's like, I'd rather, like, if you're not like, you know, if it's not me that you're really wanting anymore, like, I'd rather you just say that, because it will just make it easier for me. Because, you know, like, that's the thing as well. It's just like, if you're not happy, but then if the other person's also really not that happy, then why don't we just put each other out of our miseries?
Right.
You know, like sometimes, you know, you can be with someone for ages and it doesn't mean to say you don't care about them or whatever, but like, let's not carry on this train if it's not going to the same destination. Like, let's, you know, call it quits, and we might go separate ways and whatever, but at least we'll be happy. You know, don't carry shit on just for the sake of carrying it on. And if you know that other person is also in that mindset, then it just really just kind of eases everything off completely. Like, it really does make things easier when you have those like amicable breakups. They're the best kind, really.
if you can have a relationship that ultimately concludes with, hey, one or the other saying, you know, I don't think this is working, and the other one says, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
You know, that's the perfect breakup where both of you agree.
And then you can go for a beer and just laugh how stupid at each other. You know, like...
Yeah, and you can almost part more as friends in that scenario, because you're not leaving wreckage behind.
Yeah. There ain't going to be no midnight calls.
Right.
No USB sticks left.
Yeah, for sure. And so that kind of brings us to the final moments of this film, where it's a big birthday dinner for Abby, which gathers their friends. Like, Shane is there, Abby's brother, Wade and his wife are there, announcing they're about to have their second kid, which does not register well with Abby, who's like, oh, I didn't have one, and kind of want one.
Yeah.
And, you know, Hank, for his part, is trying to carry on mostly like things are normal. And there's a nice moment between them where Abby breaks out this wine that she's created, and she says, well, does anyone know how to drink wine the proper way? And Hank knows. You know, he's attentive enough in the relationship that he if not shares her interest, at least cares about her interest.
Yeah.
And kind of goes through that process and so forth. And then Shane announces, brings up the monster, is like, well, have you seen it again? I don't want to, I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything, but this is the elephant in the room, and let's talk about this. And which leads to the big Hank monologue at the end, which
Yeah.
I love. I love when he starts laughing. He says, "The fucking ego on you."
Oh, I know. The dress down that he gives him is so good.
Yeah. And I like a good romantic speech in a movie.
Yeah, I do. I'm a bit of a
And
sucker for him.
and when Hank says, and I relate to this so much when he says, Abby, you're right, as you are about most things. You're right that sometimes I didn't pay attention to the things that you cared about, or maybe I just wanted to ignore them. And, but the one thing you were wrong about is that you weren't enough, because you have always been enough.
Oh my God, I know.
Oh, it's so good.
Right in the feels.
Yeah. And then he's like, wait a second. Let's pull in. Oh, one quick aside. He pulls in the karaoke machine.
Yeah.
One little callback I really love is that Wade is singing one of the songs from The Battery.
Yeah. It's the it's the anthem of something.
Yeah. Song for those already defeated, or anthem for those already defeated.
Yeah, anthem
something like that.
for the defeated.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
It's so good. That Rock Plaza Central soundtrack is fucking great.
The soundtrack to this film just generally is really great. Like, and carry on. I'll mention something about it in a minute, but yeah, you carry on.
Yeah, so he then breaks out the karaoke machine and he sings "Stay."
Yeah,
and it's this wonderful rendition. He's not a bad singer, as it
he's
happens.
not. He's got a nice kind of he's got a good voice on him.
And he sings this song to her, and it's very clear that she understands what he's saying.
Yeah,
and is kind of back on board with the relationship.
Well, he says to her, doesn't he? He's like, fuck it, let's sell this fucking house. You're right. I'm never going to finish it. I'll sell the bar and like, let's go. I'll go live in Moscow if that's where you want to go. Like, he is willing to follow her anywhere if she'll have him. Yeah. And, and I think it's not just an in the moment like, it's really obvious. Like, Jeremy Gardner's performance throughout this whole thing is absolutely brilliant. And in this moment, like, you really do feel like he genuinely means what he's saying. He's being very sincere, and I will follow you wherever you want to go because you are enough, and all I want is you, and all this other stuff does not matter. If this stuff matters to you, I will give this to you, and I will do this dance. It's a really lovely moment. And and then when he sings the song, which the lyrics are just so on point for like what they've been going through. They really couldn't have picked a more perfect song, I don't think. I think she really just sort of sees the sincerity in his words, really.
And
it's a lovely moment.
It's wonderful. And at the moment that you forget that this movie is about a monster that comes every night, it attacks. It jumps on him, bites him, and starts to run off. And Jeremy Gardner chases this thing down and uses the antlers on this deer that he's killed and mounted on his wall that Abby hates.
Valentine.
And grabs the antlers off the thing and just straight up murders this monster.
He just goes to town. Like, there is blood everywhere. And you can hear it screaming. And he keeps going, like, long after it's dead. Is not making any noise. He's still going, and they're just and then Shane comes in with his like 44 gauge or whatever, and he's like, yeah, and then he's like, oh no, you got this. And then there's that really brilliant moment where he's like pointing the gun, and Abby just, without even looking, just puts her hand and just lowers the gun, like, nope, no.
Yeah.
And it's so savage, and this is what this film does, like, all the way through to smaller degrees. And I feel like it builds up to this moment, is that it lulls you into this false sense of security with these wonderful flashback scenes and these wonderful moments of love and happiness and sunshine, and then boom, you'll have like this, you'll cut back to present day, and like, Hank's falling off the bed, or there's something smashing against the door, or it's this real kind of abrupt change in pace and atmosphere. And then again, it's here, like, but like to the max, where it's like this lovely song, and they're about to reconcile, and they're going to have these plans, and it's all so great. And the past of this kind of sunshiny, rosy, happy, cozy moments, they kind of finally caught up to the present where they can have that again. And then all of a sudden, bam, like this monster. And also as well, just this kind of the validation for Hank too, you know, because as an audience member, we're like, is it in his head? Is it some kind of shape-shifting thing? Like, what is going on here? And like, oh no, it is. It's just, it is a monster. It's real. And that's what's happening, you know? So it's kind of like, it's very cool that they didn't feel the need to try and dress it up as anything else. It's just, no, it's a monster and that's that. And look, Hank's kicking the shit out of it. And let's just, you know, like Abby and Shane and everyone else, like, let's just kind of watch this unfold, I guess, you know? And then and then afterwards there has this moment where he's bloody and he's like panting from the kill and all the rest of it. And bearing in mind that Abby is kind of a pacifist when it comes to that, like she doesn't really like him hunting, she doesn't want the animals on his wall and all the rest of it. So that could really go either way. Like, you've seen this real dark side of him, you know, and he's there and he chooses that moment to propose.
But it's such a wonderful proposal though.
It's so perfect for them.
It's him.
You know?
Yeah. Like, he has, the way he does this, he crawls over to her just bloody, you know, covered in gore and viscera. Yeah. And he's
wild-eyed.
Yeah, completely. Just hair greasy with blood.
Yeah.
And this bottle that had rolled away, he grabs the bottle and he shows it to her, and it's a bottle of the Pinot Noir that they were sharing at the beginning of the movie. And the way he's holding it, she can see that there's an engagement ring at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And he says, you want to drink another case of this shit with me?
Have you heard anything more romantic in your life?
It's so good.
It's so good.
And the thing I love about it is the movie doesn't even bother to hear her answer. You just see the look on her face.
Yeah.
And you know that it's a yes. You know that she is now going to be with this man for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And this is what's so great, is because like it could go the other way where she's just like, Jesus, I've just seen you mutilate this thing in our living room and you are covered in blood, and that could really freak a person out, you know, and you can't be blamed for that. But no, she's all in. Like, she's like, yeah, come here, you big lug. You know?
Yeah. Oh, 100% she is down for it. It is.
Yeah.
It is so satisfying. And that's, you know, the end of our movie. But man, I'm glad we started with this film because I do think it is wildly romantic in its way.
Yeah.
But also very honest about its depiction of relationships and sort of those ebbs and flows where relationships do come to that critical mass point.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. I think it's a very real look at relationships, and it's not, you know, it doesn't happen too often in films. Okay, maybe more so in horror because horror ain't afraid to go there. But no, it's a very raw, real, honest look at how relationships just are, especially ones that have been going on for like a decade or something, you know, and ones that aren't perfect. And it kind of, you know, the flashbacks almost kind of remind me of, like photos or like social media representations of Facebook. Like, you have all these lovely, like, filtered wonderful snapshots of someone's life, but you weren't there for like the argument that like happened over the breakfast table because like of some fucking thing, and like, you know, and you hadn't seen like the missus like storm off and gone fuck you, slammed the door, but you might have it after that reconciliation where they've gone to like, you know, something that like that evening or gone to dinner whatever and made up, and that's what we put up on Facebook. Like it's these kind of things. And like, so when we're having, you know, him flashbacking to their relationship, we don't see him side-eyeing, you know, the waitress, and we don't have her kind of like necessarily rolling her eyes or, you know, going off and maybe flirting with her ex in Miami, and, you know, and all of this kind of stuff. So it kind of reminded me of that. But again, those are things that not every relationship is perfect, and anyone who tries to sort of claim that theirs is fucking full of shit, in my opinion. Like, no one's perfect and no one is perfect together, but it's the relationships that are worth it that you work on, and that you put that time in. And when there is a problem, you talk about it and you acknowledge it, and you do your best to work it together, because otherwise those demons, that shit that you're pushing down, they will come back and bite you in the ass when you're least suspecting it during karaoke,
Yeah.
So this film is just such a great representation of a real relationship. I think it's a really great one to start with.
And I read some article recently, study was done about relationships that last. And to the point you were just making, it is not like the percentage of value placed on meeting the right person is like, that's important, but that is way less important than the relationship that you build together.
Yeah.
And I think this movie does a nice job. Like those moments that you see with, them laughing about this mixtape and all that stuff. Like that's the stuff that matters. It's not, I mean, you can find the person who's perfect for you, but all that means ultimately is that you share enough of the same interest and enough of the same values that both of you are willing to work at it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's like when he was saying how, you can put a price on making memories. And it's just kind of like he's kind of joking around because she's just like, oh, this is my gift kind of thing. Like, it's not like wrapped up in a box and a bow and whatever. It's not like a classic kind of gift. It's, what's the word they use? Experiential.
Yeah.
Great word. But he's kind of joking around, you can't put a price on memories. But it's true, these things, the material stuff and whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the foundations that you lay in your relationship that last throughout, however long your relationship lasts, whether it's like a forever relationship or whether it's just a couple of years or even just a couple of months. But you don't have that time together and you don't have that bond for however long that lasts without the foundations being laid first and having those moments where you share in something together. Otherwise, it's just a one night stand and fuck it.
Yeah. It's what if I think there is going to be a theme to this show, over the episodes, and it's probably going to be that, which is just it's all about being able to communicate with one another, and it's being able to say what's on your mind. And if you're in a relationship where you can do that without fear of repercussion, and that the other person's just going to take it the wrong way all the time and that kind of shit. The conversation that they have on the porch is sort of the conversation that every couple has multiple times over the course of the relationship, where you're just like, all right, here's some shit that's bothering me and I need to get this off my chest. Otherwise it just becomes a cancer in the relationship that'll doom it. And
and it's when obviously it's represented when he finally kills his demon and his monster, and then he's kind of he's free to marry her. He's free to kind of put all of that insecurity and whatever to bed, where he doesn't feel like he is not, because I feel like he feels like he's punching above his weight. There's lots of little things that he says and does that alludes to this, and I think he finally sort of, again, it's that insecurity thing. He puts all of that to bed and he's like, no, I'm going to step up and I'm going to be the man that you need me to be because you are worth it and we are good together. This should work, And I think it's just a really, really great moment where everything just kind of comes together, the past and the present and the monster and the romance. Because there's, it's almost two movies working alongside each other. It's kind of romantic comedy and then this monster movie. And it works. It's not jarring at all. It works very well. But then at the end, it all kind of comes together to this the denouement for, if I'm going to throw out posh words that I learned in film school.
Yeah, it's the best of all words related to the end of a movie.
Yeah, I feel.
Yeah, who was I can't. Zizek is the guy that I was thinking of who did all those philosophy books about how movies sort of illuminate moral philosophy. And yeah, that I think you're right. This, it is the perfect moment of seeing the symbiology of the movie of like, oh, these are his figurative and literal demons, and he kills them in front of her, and at that point they can go on to have their life together. So
yeah, definitely. Oh, it's lovely. There's one other thing I real quick want to mention is just the I was sort of said about earlier is the soundtrack. Oh god, I don't know when it was, this year at some point I sort of read this thing where it was saying how like the soundtrack is a bit on the nose, you know, with like the lyrics just really kind of like heavily pertaining to whatever's happening. But I don't know. No, I think this is something that pretty much everyone does. Like, I actually think that that's really kind of good in a way, because, you know, when like, I mean, not even just breakups, but when you're kind of going through anything major in your life, like, do you not find that anytime you turn on the radio, the song, like you'll listen to a song like, well, that's just exactly how I feel right now. Or like, you know, you tend to kind of sort of relate everything back to what scenario you're going through. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And
well, because you want to hear your thoughts and emotions reflected back at you.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I guess it's kind of like validation or whatever. But so it makes sense to me that these songs are very much like on the nose with what's happening and what he's feeling and things, because that's exactly what happens in real life, is that you do apply everything around you. Like, I remember when I first had my heart broken at the age of 16, and there was this local bus service which was the same name as my ex-boyfriend, and I just saw these buses wherever I went, and I was just like, stop haunting me. You know, like, just get away, get out of my head, you know. And it was just it was torturous, honestly. But yeah, especially with that breakup, because it was my first one, and it was all like teen heartthrobs and all the rest of it, and puppy love and whatever. But like, I especially then, like, every single song that I heard, I was like, and we listened to that song, and like, oh, those lyrics are just so us. And you know, I'm laughing, it was awful at the time, but like, I can, you know, with the beauty of time and hindsight, I can laugh about it now. But yeah, like, I just wanted to make mention of that, because like it's something that I kind of read that seemed to be a bit of a critique on it, and I was like, no, that's perfect. That's exactly how you feel when you're going through something, you know. I thought I'd mention it.
Excellent. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for our first episode. It has been a long time coming. I think both of us are kind of mutual fans of one another. And so it is nice to do this show with you, but also I couldn't be happier that it started with incest and ended with the warm fuzzies of of a proposal.
It's a natural progression of things.
Yeah, well, again, if you're a royal. But so if you're listening to this, you are a subscriber to either the Dark Parade or Edenism, because I'm now fully embracing that, and so we would encourage
as you
should. So we would encourage you to check out the other show that you can hear, you know, more of us from. And anything else you want to plug, Kate?
No, that's all I've got going on, but I'm very happy to be part of this, and to finally record with you and things. And I've been a big fan of yours for a good long while. I always like make special effort to listen to your stuff when you guest host on places and stuff, so this has really been such a not to get all gushy, but a very much a privilege and an honor to record with you, so thank you very much. But yeah, just definitely check out Bo's stuff. He is absolute wordsmith and so fucking funny, and basically you ever see his name attached to anything, go check it out. I implore you. I
literally have to wrap this up so that I can go put on a Sasquatch outfit and be on a game show. So cool. You know, cool. let's not pretend that I am anything other than a huckster. But anyway, so we'll be back in about a month or so with another one of these episodes once we figure out what movie we want to talk about. And also, I would encourage you to either in our Facebook groups or on Twitter or wherever you find us, feel free to reach out if there's a movie you want us to talk about, or even just a relationship story you have that you want to share.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I hope is that I think both of us have a fair, like, I haven't even touched the time that I set fire to my house trying to woo a woman. So we'll get to that.
Oh, intrigue.
Yeah. Well, you want to tease something for the next episode. And but yeah, please, by all means, and if you feel like, oh, I don't want my name attached to this, just shoot a private message to either one of us.
Yeah,
and,
we'll keep it very
right.
Confidential.
Oh yeah, all you got to do is say that you do not want your name tied to the story you are telling, and we will certainly respect that.
100%. And also as well, if there's any questions, like if you have any like Dear Deirdre style like relationship questions, can't guarantee we'll give you the answer you want, but we'll certainly give like an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. If you have any questions about, and I'll probably defer to Kate mostly, because it will almost assuredly lead to a story that's going to make me laugh. All right, well, that's it for now, and we'll see everybody again real soon. Thanks for listening, and goodbye, I guess.
Yeah, goodbye. Thanks, everyone.